The cheap whiskey burned Danny Reeves's throat as he sat alone in the corner of a crowded cantina. Around him, dozens of alien species talked, laughed, and made deals. None of them paid attention to the tired human in the worn jacket. Danny liked it that way. 23 years since humanity joined the galactic community, and most species still saw humans as fragile newcomers. Too soft, too short-lived, too emotional. Danny had stopped caring what they thought a long time ago, that he was 41 years old. He hauled cargo between stations for barely enough credits to survive. He had no family left, no friends worth mentioning. Just an empty ship and memories he tried to drown every night. The cantina sat on the mid-level of Waypoint Horizon, a massive trading station that orbited a purple gas giant. Thousands of beings passed through here every day. Danny had stopped at this station maybe 50 times over the years. He never stayed long. He raised his glass for another drink when movement caught his eye. Above him, on an observation deck that wrapped around the cantina's upper level, a tall figure walked with impossible grace. She was Vaini, one of the crystalline bone species known throughout the galaxy for their beauty and their empathic abilities. Her skin held a faint blue shimmer. Her eyes were large and dark. Beside her walked a child. The little girl could not have been more than 6 years old in human terms. She held her mother's hand and pointed at things below, chattering in a language Danny did not understand. Her laughter rang out clear and bright, cutting through the noise of the cantina. Danny watched them for a moment. Something about the child's laugh made his chest hurt. He looked away and reached for his drink. That was when the world broke apart and a deep groan of metal echoed through the station. Danny felt the vibration through the floor before he understood what was happening. He looked up just in time to see a structural support beam tear free from the observation deck above. The walkway buckled. The Vaini woman grabbed a railing as the floor beneath her crumbled. She held on, her body dangling over empty air. But the child was not so lucky. The little girl fell. She did not scream. She was too surprised to scream. She simply dropped, her small body tumbling through open space toward the industrial level 200 feet below. Danny did not think. His body moved before his mind caught up. He was on his feet. He was running. He reached the edge of his own platform, and he jumped. Every alien in the cantina froze. Humans were fragile creatures. Everyone knew this. A fall from this height would kill any species without natural armor or wings. For a human, it was certain death, but Danny Reeves did not care about certain death. He had watched his younger brother fall from a construction platform on Earth 12 years ago. He had been too slow, too far away. He had arrived just in time to hold the broken body and feel the life leave it. He would not be too slow again. That Danny's body cut through the air like a missile. The child tumbled below him, her crystalline limbs catching the light. He tucked his arms and aimed himself at her falling form. The wind roared in his ears. The ground rushed up to meet them. He caught her. His arms wrapped around her small body and pulled her tight against his chest. She was so light, so fragile. Her large eyes met his, filled with terror. Danny twisted in midair, turning his back toward the ground below. He curled himself around the child like a shield. Above them, the Vaini mother screamed. Captain Gorth, a massive Mendari trader covered in natural armor plates, watched from the lower level. His species valued survival above all things. They calculated risks before every action. They never took chances that did not favor them. What he saw made no sense to him. The human had jumped. The human had caught the child. And now the human was positioning himself to take the full force of the impact. Gorth had seen many things in his long life. He had never seen anything like this. Time seemed to slow as Danny and the child plunged toward the ground. Danny closed his eyes. He thought of his brother. He thought of all the years he had spent running from that memory, that he was not running anymore. "Hold on," he whispered to the child in his arms. "I have got you." The ground came up fast. Danny hit a cargo net stretched between two loading cranes. The net slowed them, but did not stop them. They tore through it and struck a canvas awning covering a merchant stall. The fabric ripped. They kept falling. Finally, they crashed onto a stack of metal shipping containers. Danny's body absorbed the impact. The sound his bones made would haunt everyone who heard it for the rest of their lives. The child rolled free from his arms and lay still on the cold metal surface. Her chest rose and fell. She was breathing. She was alive. Danny lay broken beside her. His spine was shattered. His ribs had punctured things inside him that should never be punctured. Blood pooled beneath him, but he was still conscious. Medical alarms began to wail. Aliens rushed toward them from every direction. The Vaini mother somehow climbed down from the ruined walkway, screaming her daughter's name. Danny could not move. He could barely see, but he forced his lips to form one question. Is she okay? A Mindari medic leaned over him, scanning his destroyed body with trembling hands. The child is alive, the medic said. But you should not be. Danny closed his eyes that he had done it. He had not been too slow this time. Whatever happened next did not matter. Blood spread across the metal surface in a dark pool that grew larger with every heartbeat. The medical teams arrived within 90 seconds of impact. Alien doctors of 3 different species surrounded the broken human and the unconscious child. Scanners hummed. Voices shouted orders in half a dozen languages. Captain Gorth stood frozen at the edge of the crowd. His armored body could have survived that fall. His thick skull and reinforced bones were built for impacts that would kill most creatures. But even he would have hesitated before jumping. The human had not hesitated at all. The Vaini mother pushed through the crowd and fell to her knees beside her daughter. The child was breathing. Her crystalline bones were intact. Not a single fracture. The human's body had absorbed everything. Lyra, the mother whispered, gathering the small form into her arms. Lyra, wake up. The child's eyes fluttered open. She looked around in confusion, then started to cry. But she was crying because she was scared, not because she was hurt. She was whole. The mother looked at the broken human beside her. Danny Reeves should have been dead. Every medical scanner confirmed this. His spine was shattered in 4 places. 11 ribs were broken, and 3 of them had punctured his lungs. His pelvis was cracked. Internal bleeding had already begun to shut down his organs. But his heart was still beating that a human doctor arrived, pushing through the alien medics with the kind of desperate speed that came from knowing time was running out. She took one look at the scanner readings, and her face went pale. Get him surgery now, she ordered. We have maybe 10 minutes. They lifted Danny onto a hovering stretcher. His eyes were closed, but his lips moved. The doctor leaned close to hear him. The kid, Danny whispered. Is the kid okay? She is fine, the doctor said. You saved her. Now let us save you. Danny's hand twitched, like he was trying to reach for something. Then his body went limp as he finally lost consciousness. The stretcher rushed toward the medical wing, leaving a trail of blood drops behind it. Ambassador Searle, the Vaini mother, watched them take him away. She held her daughter against her chest and felt the child's small heart beating strong and steady. Lyra was alive because of that human, that strange, fragile, impossible human. Mother, Lyra said quietly. The warm one. He felt like home. Searle did not understand what her daughter meant. The Vaini could sense emotions through touch, and Lyra's gift was stronger than most. Whatever she had felt from a human during those terrible seconds of falling must have been powerful. What did you feel? Searle asked. Lyra pressed her face against her mother's shoulder. He was not scared. He wanted to keep me safe. That was all he wanted. Nothing else mattered to him. Searle felt something shift inside her chest. She had been traveling to a medical station for Lyra's routine health examination. A simple trip, a boring trip. Now everything had changed. She stood up slowly, her daughter still in her arms, and walked toward the medical wing. Captain Gorth followed her. He could not explain why. He just knew that he needed to understand what had happened. His entire species was built on logic and survival. What the human had done went against every principle Gorth had been raised to believe. The surgery lasted 7 hours. The human doctors worked with technology that seemed primitive compared to what other species used. They did not have regeneration tanks or cellular reconstruction devices. They had to cut Danny open and physically repair the damaged piece by piece point 3 times. His heart stopped. 3 times, they brought him back. When they finally wheeled him out of surgery, The lead doctor looked like she had aged 10 years. A crowd had gathered outside the medical wing. Word had spread through the station about what had happened. Aliens of every species wanted to see the human who had jumped. "Will he live?" someone asked. The doctor wiped sweat from her forehead. "I do not know. His injuries are catastrophic. Any other human would have died on impact, but somehow he is still fighting." She paused, looking at the crowd of alien faces staring at her. "He has a 3% chance of survival, maybe less, but I've learned not to bet against humans who refuse to give up." Gorth pushed forward. "Why'd he do it? He could not have known he would survive." The doctor looked at him with tired eyes. He did not think about surviving. He thought about that little girl. That is what humans do. We protect children. Any children. It does not matter whose they are. Gorth did not understand. His species protected their own offspring because it ensured the survival of their genetic line. There was logic in that. But this human had no connection to the Vaini child. No genetic stake. No political advantage, that he had simply jumped. Ambassador Cyril appeared at Gorth's side. Her daughter was now in a private room, sleeping peacefully under medical observation. "I need to see him," Cyril said. The doctor hesitated. "He is in critical care. No visitors." "I need to see him," Cyril repeated. Her voice was calm, but her eyes held something that made the doctor step aside. Cyril walked into the critical care unit alone. Through a window, she could see the human lying motionless in a bed. Tubes and wires connected him to machines that beeped and hummed. His face was pale. His body was wrapped in bandages that he looked so fragile, so small, so ordinary, and yet he had done something extraordinary. Cyril placed her hand against the glass. In her culture, deaths were sacred things. They bound families together for generations. She owed this human everything. "Thank you," she whispered. "I do not know if you can hear me, but thank you." Behind her, Gorth stood in the doorway. He had followed her without realizing it. He was still trying to understand. "I have lived for 200 years, he said quietly. "I have never seen anything like that." Cyril did not turn around. "Neither have I." They stood there in silence, watching the broken human breathe. Neither of them knew it yet, but this moment would change the galaxy forever. 3 days passed. Danny Reeves did not wake up. His body lay still in the critical care unit while machines breathed for him and pumped medicine through his veins. The doctors said his brain was active. They said he was dreaming, but they could not say if he would ever open his eyes again. Ambassador Cyril had not left the medical wing since the accident. Her diplomatic mission was forgotten. Her meetings were canceled. Her staff begged her to continue her work, but she refused to move from the chair outside Danny's room. "You do not even know him," her aide said. "He is just a human cargo hauler. Why are you staying?" Cyril looked at the aide with cold eyes. "He gave everything he had for my daughter. I will not leave until I know his fate." The aide did not argue again. Lyra recovered quickly. Children were strong that way, especially Vaini children. Her crystalline bones had not suffered a single crack. Her mind was sharp and clear, but she kept asking about the human who had caught her. "The warm one," she called him. "I want to see the warm one." Cyril brought her daughter to the window of Danny's room. Lyra pressed her small hands against the glass and stared at the broken man inside. "He is dreaming," Lyra said quietly. "I can feel it. He is dreaming about falling." Cyril felt her heart tighten. "What else do you feel?" Lyra closed her eyes. Her empathic gift reached through the glass, through the machines, through the bandages, and touched whatever remained of Danny's conscious mind. "He is dreaming about someone else," Lyra whispered. "A boy, younger than him." He tried to catch the boy too, but he was too late. The boy fell and did not get up. Cyril understood then. The human was not just a cargo hauler. He was a man carrying a wound that had never healed. When he saw Lyra falling, he did not see a Vaini child. He saw another chance, a chance to save someone he could not save before. "He is very sad," Lyra said, opening her eyes. Tears rolled down her blue-tinged cheeks. "He has been sad for a long time." Cyril knelt beside her daughter and held her close. "He saved you. That is what matters. But who will save him?" The question hung in the air without an answer. News of the incident had spread far beyond Waypoint Horizon. Ships carried the story to 100 worlds. Humans heard about their own kind and felt proud. But other species struggled to understand what had happened. The Mindari called it madness. The Sirith called it a defect in human thinking. The Krell suggested that humans must have a death wish built into their biology, but some species saw something else. The Palori, who had long studied human behavior, suggested that this was simply what humans were. They were creatures who protected the young. Not just their own young, all young. It was written into their deepest instincts. The Galactic Assembly began to pay attention. Captain Gore stayed on the station longer than he had planned. He could not stop thinking about what he had witnessed. Every night, he replayed the moment in his mind. The human jumping, the human twisting in midair to shield the child, the human hitting the ground with a sound like the world ending. Why? The question burned in Gorth's mind like a fire he could not put out. On the fourth day, he went to the medical wing and found Searle still sitting in her chair. She looked exhausted. Her shimmer had faded, but she did not move. "Ambassador," Gorth said, "I have a question." Searle looked up at him. "Ask, do all humans do this? Do they all throw their lives away for strangers?" Searle thought about it for a long moment. "I do not know, but I have heard stories. Humans running into burning buildings to save people they have never met. Humans jumping into frozen water to pull out drowning children. Humans standing between danger and innocence even when they know they will not survive." Gorth shook his massive head. "That makes no sense. Survival is the first law of every living thing." "Perhaps," Searle said quietly, "but humans seem to believe that some things are more important than survival." Gorth did not know how to respond to that. On the fifth day, Danny's brain activity spiked. The doctors rushed to his room, expecting the worst. But when they checked his vitals, they found something unexpected. He was fighting his way back. His body was still broken. His spine was held together with metal rods. His lungs were scarred. His organs were barely functioning. But somewhere deep inside, the part of Danny Reeves that refused to give up was climbing toward the light. Lyra felt it first. She grabbed her mother's hand and smiled. "He is coming back," she said. "The warm one is coming back." Searle allowed herself to hope for the first time in days. Gorth stood at the edge of the gathering crowd and watched. He had spent his entire life believing that strength came from armor and logic and careful calculation. Now he was beginning to wonder if he had been wrong. Maybe true strength came from somewhere else entirely. On the sixth day, Danny Reeves opened his eyes. He blinked against the harsh medical lights. His mouth was dry. His body felt like it had been torn apart and roughly put back together. But he was alive. A face appeared above him. A human doctor with tired eyes and a relieved smile. "Welcome back," she said. "You have been gone for a while." Danny tried to speak, but his throat was too raw. He managed one word, forced out through cracked lips. "Girl." The doctor's smile grew wider. "She is fine. She is perfect. You saved her." Danny closed his eyes again. A single tear rolled down his cheek that he had finally caught someone in time. A ship arrived at Waypoint Horizon carrying the most important Villani in the galaxy. High Elder Palax had ruled the Villani Council for 300 years. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had negotiated peace treaties and trade agreements with dozens of species. He had watched humanity emerge from their small blue world and stumble into the galactic community like children learning to walk. He had never paid much attention to humans before. They were brief creatures. They lived for barely a century, often less. They had no natural defenses, no exceptional technology, no obvious value to the greater galaxy. But now a human had done something that demanded his attention. Palax walked through the medical wing with slow, measured steps. His ancient bones were reinforced with crystal implants that let him move without pain. His eyes, clouded with age, still saw everything clearly. Ambassador Searle met him at the entrance and bowed deeply. "High Elder," she said. "Thank you for coming." "I came because I needed to understand," Palax said. His voice was soft but carried weight. "The Council is discussing a formal alliance with humanity. This incident will influence that decision. I must know what truly happened." Searle led him to a small conference room where several witnesses waited. Captain Gorth sat in a chair too small for his massive body. The human doctor who had saved Danny stood against the wall. Station security officers had brought recordings from every angle. Parallax watched the footage in silence, that he saw the beam fail. He saw the child fall. He saw the human launch himself into empty air without a moment of hesitation. He saw the impact that should have killed both of them. When the recording ended, Parallax turned to Gorth. "You were there. What did you see?" Gorth shifted uncomfortably. "I saw a human do something impossible. He jumped knowing he would die. My people would never do such a thing. We value survival above all else. And yet the human valued something more." Gorth nodded slowly. He valued the child. A child who was not his own. A child of a different species. "I did not understand it." Parallax turned to the human doctor. "Tell me about this man. Who is he?" The doctor pulled up Danny's file on screen. Danny Reeves, 41 years old, born on Earth in a region called North America. He worked construction for 15 years before becoming a cargo hauler. No family, no criminal record, nothing remarkable about him at all. "Nothing remarkable," Parallax repeated. "And yet he did something that a Minari warrior would not do. Something that a Vaini elder would hesitate to attempt." "What?" No one had an answer. Parallax asked to see the child. Cyril brought Lyra to him, and the little girl looked up at the ancient elder without fear. She had her mother's grace and her father's stubborn courage. "Child," Parallax said gently, "I am told you can sense emotions. What did you feel from the human when he caught you?" Lyra thought about it carefully. She was young, but she understood that this was important. "He was not scared," she said finally. "I thought he would be scared, but he was not. He just wanted to keep me safe. That was the only thing in his mind. He did not care about himself at all. Did you feel anything else?" Lyra nodded. He was thinking about someone. A boy. Someone he lost a long time ago. He was trying to save that boy too. Through me. Parallax felt something stir in his ancient heart. The human had been carrying a wound. The human had seen a chance to heal it. And he had taken that chance even though it cost him everything. "I wish to meet him," Parallax said. They took him to Danny's room. The human was awake now, though barely. He lay in bed surrounded by machines that kept his broken body alive. His eyes were dull with pain medication, but they focused when Parallax entered. "Who are you?" Danny asked. His voice was rough and weak. "I am Parallax. I lead the Vaini people. I have come to ask you a question." Danny almost laughed, but hurt too much. "Everyone wants to ask me questions. Go ahead." Parallax sat down beside the bed. For a long moment, he simply studied the human. This fragile creature. This brief spark of life. This ordinary man who had done an extraordinary thing. "Why did you jump?" Danny closed his eyes. "I do not know how to explain it." "Try." Silence stretched between them. Finally, Danny spoke. "I had a brother, Tommy. He was 10 years younger than me. I was supposed to watch him at a construction site where I worked. He climbed somewhere he should not have climbed. I saw him fall. I ran, but I was too far away. I could not reach him in time." Danny's voice cracked. "He died in my arms, and I've been carrying that moment with me ever since. Every night, I dream about running, about not being fast enough." He opened his eyes and looked at Parallax. "When I saw your child fall, I did not think. I just moved. I was not going to be too slow again. I was not going to let another kid hit the ground while I watched." Parallax understood now. The human had not jumped to be a hero. He had jumped because he could not bear to fail again. He had jumped because protecting children was written into his soul. "You knew you would die," Parallax said. Danny shrugged, then winced at the pain. "Probably. I did not really think about it. That is what makes you remarkable. You did not calculate the odds. You simply acted." Danny looked confused. Anyone would have done the same thing. Parallax shook his head slowly. "No, they would not have. I have lived for 3 centuries, and I have never seen anyone do what you did. Not a Minari, not a Vaini, not any of the species I have encountered." He stood up and placed his ancient hand on Danny's shoulder. "You have shown me something today, something I will carry with me for the rest of my days. Humanity is not what I thought it was." Danny did not understand what the old alien meant, but he was too tired to ask. Parallax walked out of the room with a new weight on his shoulders. The Galactic Assembly was waiting for his recommendation about humanity that he knew now what he would tell them. Recovery was slow and painful. Danny spent 3 weeks in the medical wing, learning to breathe without machines. His lungs had been torn apart by broken ribs. Every breath felt like swallowing fire. But he kept breathing because that was what humans did. They survived through pure stubbornness. His spine was another matter. The doctors had put it back together with metal rods and synthetic tissue, but the damage was permanent. He would never walk the same way again. He would never run. He would never move without thinking about pain. But he was alive, and Lyra was alive. That was enough. Ambassador Searle visited him every day. At first, Danny did not understand why. She was an important person. She had places to be, things to do. But she kept coming back, sitting in the chair beside his bed, talking to him about nothing and everything. "You do not have to stay," he told her one morning. "I am nobody special, just a cargo hauler." Searle looked at him with her large, dark eyes. "You saved my daughter's life. In my culture, that creates a bond that cannot be broken. You are part of my family now, whether you want to be or not." Danny did not know what to say to that. He had not had a family in a long time. Lyra came with her mother sometimes. The little girl was not afraid of Danny's broken body or the machines that surrounded him. She would climb onto the edge of his bed and tell him stories about her homeworld, about the crystal forests and the singing winds and the way the 3 moons rose together every night. Danny listened to her talk and felt something thaw inside his chest. Something that had been frozen for 12 years. One day, Searle came alone. She sat down and folded her hands in her lap, and Danny could tell she had something important to say. "High Elder Palax spoke to the Galactic Assembly yesterday," she said. Danny shrugged. Galactic politics had never interested him. "What did he say?" "He told them about you. He told them what you did. He showed them the recordings. And then he told them what he believed it meant." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "He said that humanity has been misjudged. Other species see humans as fragile and short-lived. They see you as primitive compared to older civilizations. But Palax said they were looking at the wrong things." Danny waited. "He said that humans have something no other species possesses. A willingness to die for strangers. A protective instinct that extends beyond family, beyond tribe, beyond species. He said that this makes humans dangerous and wonderful at the same time." Danny shifted uncomfortably in his bed. "I just did what anyone would do." Searle shook her head. "No, you did not. Captain Gorth would not have jumped. He told me so himself. He said his people are built for survival. And survival means calculating risks. A Mindari would have watched my daughter fall and felt regret, but done nothing." She leaned forward. "Do you understand? You did something that an armored warrior twice your size would not attempt. Because you are human. Because humans protect children. All children." Danny thought about her words. He thought about Tommy, the brother he could not save. He thought about the years of guilt that had driven him to the edges of space, running from memories he could not escape. "I was not trying to be a hero," he said quietly. "I was just trying to not fail again." Searle reached out and touched his hand. Her skin was cool and smooth. Perhaps that is what heroism is. Not seeking glory, but refusing to let the innocent suffer when you have the power to act. The door opened and Lyra ran in. She had a small crystal pendant in her hands, glowing with faint blue light. "I made this for you," she said, climbing onto the bed with careful movements. "It is a memory stone. My people use them to remember important things." She pressed it into Danny's palm. The crystal was warm despite its cool appearance. "I put my memory of the fall inside it," Lyra explained, "so you can feel what I felt when you caught me." Danny looked at the small stone. "What did you feel?" "Lyra similит. Safe. I felt safe, even though we were falling. Because you were holding me." Danny's eyes burned. He had not cried since the day Tommy died. But now tears rolled down his cheeks, and he did not try to stop them. Searle watched in silence. Her daughter had done something powerful. She had shown this broken man that his sacrifice had meaning, that he had made a difference. "Thank you," Danny whispered to Lyra. "Thank you for this." Lyra hugged him carefully, mindful of his injuries. "Thank you for catching me." Later that day, the human doctor came in with news. Danny's recovery was going better than expected. His body was healing faster than it should have. She could not explain it medically. Humans are stubborn creatures, she said with a tired smile. You refuse to give up even when the odds say you should. Danny looked at the crystal pendant in his hand. He thought about Cyril and Lyra. He thought about the strange Vaini elder who had come to ask him questions. For the first time in 12 years, he did not feel alone. Maybe that was why he was healing. Not because of medicine or technology, but because he had found something worth healing for. 6 months later, Danny Reeves walked again. It was not the same walk he had before. He wore a prosthetic frame around his legs that hummed quietly with every step. His back ached constantly. Stairs were his enemy. But he was upright, and he was moving, and that was more than any doctor had predicted. The Galactic Assembly had voted unanimously to form a formal alliance with humanity. For the first time in history, every single species had agreed on something. Not because of politics or trade advantages, but because of what one human had done on a damaged walkway in a forgotten trading station. Danny did not think about the vote much. He did not care about galactic politics. He just wanted to get back to his ship and haul cargo again. Simple work for simple pay. That was all he needed. Offers had come flooding in during his recovery. The Mindari wanted to study him. The Vaini wanted to honor him. The Palori wanted to interview him for their research. 3 different species had offered him positions in their governments, their military forces, their diplomatic corps. Danny turned them all down. I am just a cargo hauler, he told everyone who asked. That is all I want to be. They did not understand. But Cyril did. You are not running away anymore, she said during their final meeting before she returned to her homeworld. You are choosing simplicity because you have found peace. Danny nodded slowly. Something like that. Cyril had become a strange kind of friend during his recovery. She was elegant and important, and he was rough and ordinary. But they understood each other in ways that did not need words. Lyra asks about you constantly, Cyril said. She wants you to visit our world someday. Maybe I will. Cyril smiled. It was a rare thing, and it made her face glow. She considers you family now. So do I. Remember that. She left, and Danny felt her absence like a missing piece he had not known existed. 1 week later, he was loading his ship in the main docking bay of Waypoint Horizon. His cargo was nothing special. Machine parts for a mining colony 3 systems away. Boring work that paid just enough. He was wrestling with a heavy crate when a familiar voice rang out across the bay. Danny! He turned and saw a small figure running toward him at full speed. Blue-tinged skin, large dark eyes, a smile that could light up a room. Lyra crashed into his legs with enough force to nearly knock him over. His prosthetic frame whined in protest, but he did not care. He laughed, a sound that surprised even him, and looked down at the child hugging him like he was the most important person in the universe. What are you doing here? He asked. Cyril appeared behind her daughter, walking with her usual grace. We had diplomatic business in this sector. Lyra insisted we stop at the station. I cannot say no. Danny looked at the ambassador. You came all this way just to see me. She came all this way. I merely followed. Lyra pulled back and looked up at Danny with serious eyes. Mother says you are leaving, that you're going back to hauling cargo. That is right. Will you come visit us? Please? Our world has beautiful things. I want to show you the crystal forests, and the singing caves, and the place where the 3 moons meet the ocean. Danny felt his throat tighten. He had spent 12 years alone, convinced he did not deserve connection or family or love. Now, this small girl was looking at him like he was her hero, and he did not know how to handle it. I will visit, he said. I promise. Lyra's face lit up. She hugged his legs again, and Danny placed his hand on her head. Captain Gorth appeared at the edge of the docking bay. The Mindari had sought Danny out multiple times during his recovery, asking questions, trying to understand. He still did not fully grasp why Danny had jumped, but he was starting to accept that some things could not be calculated. Human, Gorth said, approaching slowly. I wanted to see you before you left. Danny nodded. Captain. Gorth stood there for a long moment, his massive body towering over everyone present. Then he did something that surprised everyone, including himself, that he bowed. I have lived for 200 years, Gorth said. I have never bowed to anyone, but you deserve it. You showed me that there is more to strength than armor and survival." Danny did not know how to respond. He had never been bowed to before. "Thank you," he managed. Gorth straightened up. "If you ever need anything human, call on me. I will answer." He walked away without another word, leaving Danny standing there with Cyril and Lyra. The docking bay was busy with ships coming and going. Aliens of every species moved past them, hurrying to their own destinations. But a few of them slowed down when they saw Danny. Word had spread. The human who jumped. The man who refused to let a child fall. Some nodded to him. Some whispered to their companions. A few even stopped to stare. Danny ignored them all. He knelt down, his prosthetic frame clicking, and looked Lyra in the eyes. "I have to go now," he said, "but I will see you again. That is a promise." Lyra threw her arms around his neck. "I know. The warm one always keeps his promises." She let go and ran back to her mother. Cyril took her daughter's hand and gave Danny one last look. "The galaxy has changed because of you," she said, "whether you wanted it to or not." Danny watched them walk away. Then he turned back to his ship and finished loading his cargo. He lifted off from the station and set course for the mining colony. He thought about everything that had happened. The fall, the impact, the pain, the recovery. The people who had come into his life when he least expected it, that he was still just a cargo hauler. He was still nobody special. But maybe that was the point. Maybe heroism was not about being special. Maybe it was about ordinary people refusing to stand by when someone needed help. Across the galaxy, species who had dismissed humans as fragile and primitive were starting to look at them differently. They had measured humanity by their soft bodies and short lives. They had missed what truly mattered. Humans did not calculate the odds of survival. They simply refused to let the innocent fall. Danny Reeves smiled as his ship jumped to faster-than-light speed. For the first time in 12 years, the dreams of his brother falling did not haunt him. He had finally caught someone in time, and that had changed everything.